mind, another issue that was brought up was you mentioned it, the pools.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, can you tell me why they were closed?
So the excuses given were that they were going to be too expensive to repair and they needed a bunch of repairs. And so what happened behind that was those pools were built in the 50s and they were maintained for a lot of years. But once in certain areas, and I'll just be frank, it just is what it is. It's part of Lubbock's history. When white people started moving out of the area, moved to other areas, the maintenance was not there for decades and decades. All right. And so I heard from a city staff person that dealt with the pools from their own mouth that there would be cracks in the pool and their fix for it so that they could open it up for that season was to paint over it. Right. Then you had a situation where you had all of the mechanics that make that pool work were from the 50s and they never updated them, never got new ones. And so now you have machines that not only can you not even get parts for, they don't teach people in school even how to fix those machines.
Damn.
Right. So it gets real expensive. And so another part of it was because the last council spent all of our ARPA money, except for $5 million. That's all they had of ARPA funds to put towards this, which is why we got 3 splash pads, because they were $1.5 million each. And the pools, they were saying at the time, would have been like $8 million each to completely renovate. And so that was the excuse given. Now that would be fine if there were no options to pay for those. And there were options and I presented those options. So the 2 options at that time, one of them wouldn't have worked, but it is a viable option, which is a citywide bond, right? People go and vote and say, yeah, we want some pools, but we're going to pay so many cents a year or
Seems
whatever.
like a lot of people this pool is an issue for a lot of people.
Right. So you could do that, but what was going on at the time was we had just passed I think $200-something million street bond. Literally had just passed it. And so I don't care who you are, if you just pass that big of a bond, you're not going to really have an appetite to pass another one. And then also with our low voter turnout, there would have been a lot of people that just voted it down. And so that wasn't really going to work right at that time. The other option that I presented that would have worked at that time, now granted it would have been a little hard, and that's literally what the conversation was with the city when I gave them this idea. They were like, yeah, it'll technically work, but it's just hard. So they just didn't want to do it because it was hard. And what that is called it's called a PID. It's called a public improvement district. So you can draw a boundary around a certain area and say this is going to be a public improvement district for a pool, right, in this area here. Now, the city has to meet a requirement, and that requirement is you have to get 50% of the property owners in that area, whatever that area is, to sign off and say, yeah, we're going to do this tax increase over X amount of years to get this pool. It would have been hard.
You would have to go like door to door?
Not necessarily.
No.
If you're the city, you know where, first of all, you know if there's any prominent people, right, that you can approach that are probably the majority landowners anyway, right?
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about that.
Right? You know who those folks are. And then if you need to expand past that, yeah, the city has a lot of capacity to go and send letters to every single door and say, hey, this is the city. We want to get your buy-in on this. And just make sure that you get that 50% and you're good to go.